Indeed, it's my pleasure to be on the show.
You are into security now, information security and the likes. Are you worried about the state of security on the internet today?
I think knowing what I do, as I prefer to call myself a governance, risk and compliance professional, I am very concerned. The internet, if you like, is inherently insecure. You find that it's becoming more ubiquitous in Nigeria, for example, all over the world. And it's not just the internet on our computing devices. It's closer and closer to us. It's in our phones, it's in our cars, it's in all the smart devices that we surround ourselves with. Okay, and it wasn't really built for security. It's actually built for access, to ensure unhindered access. And so we found a situation where this platform, this wonderful platform with almost limitless information, is being exploited by, cyber criminals and other fraudsters. So it does give a lot of concern, a lot of room for concern about how we can ensure that we get the benefits of the use of the internet without getting harmed through using it. So we call it the dual potentialities of the internet. It does give some concern.
From your experience,
yes.
How worried should we be in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, I think we should be particularly worried because we have a very low level of awareness of information security or cybersecurity generally. As I just said, because the internet is becoming increasingly ubiquitous, we've got 70 million Nigerians estimated on the internet today. That's growing in double-digit figures. Now imagine all of those people online doing all sorts of things, from social media to transacting to e-commerce to banking to just communicating without that knowledge of the fact that there are risks. Okay, so that gives concern. So the cybercrime bill has come up, and that is a big start, is a good help. However, we need to ensure that there is awareness of that bill. And we need to ensure that there's enforcement of the bill. So if you see the typical behavior of Nigerians online, they're chatting, especially on social media. People are disclosing too much personal information. And that makes it very easy for a fraudster or a cyber criminal, because essentially if you're able to, as a criminal or cyber criminal, get information without too much effort, it makes it much easier for you to perform your exploits. So if I get information from you to attack you, how easy can that be? So really the essence is to increase the amount of effort that the attacker will have to use to attack you. Okay, and there are many ways that we can do this.
Wow. Okay. Before we get to the ways,
yes.
I want to know your thoughts on the new cyber security bill that you mentioned.
Okay.
Many have argued that bill has a lot of loopholes. What's your take?
Okay, well, it's actually called the Cybercrime Bill. And my own view is that it's a start. We didn't have a bill before, and that has been a huge inhibitor to internet initiatives, to even foreign direct investment, because it was a vacuum. And I know too many times in too many initiatives that I've been involved with, the starting point is there is no legal and regulatory framework for internet security or internet in Nigeria, the use of the internet. And so the fact that there's a bill is a good start. The second step now is what is the content of the bill. To be fair, the bill actually addresses a number of scenarios quite extensively. Okay, it at least makes it today a crime to do things like fishing and farming and just using the internet or computers inappropriately. And it defines specific consequences. Some of them are financial, ranging from 1 million to 15 million, to imprisonment, 1 year, to life imprisonment, depending on what the crime is. So that's a start. Now, you could never have an all-encompassing, completely exhaustive bill. So my thinking is that it will evolve. It will evolve over time. There will be improvements, there will be different versions. But the first step is we have the bill. Can we ensure that everybody is aware that that bill is there? Most people are not even aware. Most people, whether professionals or institutions, are not even aware. So that awareness, we have to have widespread national awareness. Then the third step will now be enforcement. How do we enforce what is in the bill? Because if enforcement should start, I think that will change the whole game completely.
Who will enforce?
Well, the onus is on law enforcement agencies.
Like,
Like the umbrella body, therefore, is the National Office of the National Security Advisor, aided by people like the EFCC, the Nigerian Police, the appropriate sections within those organizations, okay, as well as even private sector organizations. So, as a private sector organization, knowing that certain things are now legal or illegal, you start to graft that into your own information security policy. You start to make your employees, your third parties, all the people who deal with you aware that these are actually crimes. And if indeed people are apprehended for some of those crimes and we begin to see that people are apprehended, then I think that, it will change the climate. And that needs to happen very, very rapidly.
okay, so I'm curious.
Yes.
You called, when I said a cybersecurity bill, but you said it's a cybercrime bill.
That's what it's called.
But shouldn't we have a cybersecurity bill? Now we're doing everything around technology.
I agree.
I mean, so what do you think about that?
I agree, but given that this cybercrime bill has taken us years to get to the fore, we take what we have and we run with it. We're not in an ideal world.
I get that, you're right. Now, there is this issue also around security, which is privacy.
Yes.
That's not been talked about, but that's also sort of a big issue. What's your take on that?
Internationally, it's a very big issue. Maybe less so in Nigeria, and it's because at the heart of it, what is a cyber criminal after? It's after your data. It's after your information, whether it is private or institutional, on a corporate level or national. He's after your data. So if it's private, what I want is your personal identity information. Because if I have your identity information, then it makes it easy for the attacker to attack you. Or your credit card information. Okay, so on the internet and in the information security world generally, we call information, your data, we call it your crown jewels, your digital crown jewels, hence the name of our company, Digital Jewels. Okay, so that is a prized possession. It's an asset of significant value, absolutely. And that is in essence what our organization is about, to let organizations know, to let professionals know, to let us know at the national level that information is an asset. And if information is therefore an asset, then you need to secure it. You need to assure it. You need to manage it.
Let me just give you a scenario, and I want you to comment on it. So let's say a medical practitioner who has a lot of data about their client, their patient, and decides to give out that data without taking permission from that client or from that patient. Does the cybercrime bill that we have now, does it touch on something like that? Because that has a lot to do with privacy.
Absolutely. Okay, so it doesn't address it explicitly because it's sort of tilted towards financial institutions or critical national infrastructure. But it does address it implicitly, okay? Because you can argue that that is inappropriate use of the information that you've been given custody of by virtue of your profession. However, the onus will now be on the patient to prove that that data was divulged and that it was divulged for financial gain. Do you understand? So the onus is now on that patient, and if that patient can prove it, then I think that that will be addressed. So those are the issues that I talk about around enforcement. How does the patient prove that?
Most of our government officials still use the free public email services.
Yes.
How secure can we be nationally if those who are supposed to be leaders are using such services?
Okay, so as you alluded, it's changing. It has changed quite significantly. I remember earlier on, maybe about 5 years ago, where a government official would give you his card and then scribble, he has his official email, but quickly scribble the Yahoo one and say to you, that's how you reach me, More often now, those email addresses work and they are used. Okay, so we've made progress. But there is still that, it's difficult to change bad habits or old habits. So some people still rely on their internet-based email, which clearly is insecure. Okay, but as I say, that awareness is improving. So you want to try and move people from Yahoo boxes and such like boxes which are hacked every day to a more secure domain. I mean, now we've got .ng.gov, which is which is supposed to be the platform in which government officials transact all of their communication and correspondence.
Is it hosted here?
It is. It's hosted by the Galaxy Backbone, which is the government's ICT company.
So every infrastructure is here.
So it goes through their own servers.
Which is good.
Okay, which goes through their servers. Hence the .ng domain. All right, so it doesn't have to go out and come in again. Okay, so that is improving. But then beyond that, just general awareness in terms of habits Government and not only government, public sector executives also. That's why I say that awareness is a starting point, because as a criminal, again, we need to understand the mindset of the criminal. You need to know your attacker, right? Mm-hmm. You need to know the enemy. As a criminal, there are three motives for engaging in cybercrime. The first one is ignorance. So if I know that you are ignorant, then it's easy to attack you. I just put a few traps. You give me your information and then I attack you. The second one is mischief. So it might be a kid, it might be a teenager who's bored, who's on the internet, and we have more and more of them on the internet today, just trying out all sorts of things, and he gets a kick from the fact that he just hacked a government website. Those things are happening today. Okay, so that's mischief. And you might say, what harm can that cause? A lot of harm, because there's reputational damage. Or it might just be malice, and that's the one we're more familiar with, which is the attacker wants to attack for a financial motive. And the payoff for attacking sites or getting your hands on data is very high. So whether it is personal identity information, stolen passports, there are all sorts of, there's what we call the deep web, which is where people transact information, buy and sell information about you and other people.
Have you ever visited the deep web?
No. Have I ever visited? I'm aware of it. I won't visit because I'm not a criminal, but because of my profession, I know what goes on there. Okay, so the onus is on us to make sure that we protect ourselves, we protect our information, so that we don't fall a victim, we don't become the next statistic. We hear every day about data breaches, of big international companies, their security is being breached. So you can imagine that if that is happening in companies that we know probably have more security, protective mechanisms than the average company in Nigeria, then what can happen in Nigeria? What is happening in Nigeria?
I want to thank you so much for being on Tech Trends today.
Thanks, CFU. It's been interesting. It's been interesting.
Thank you.
Now to the big one. This week, we'll be giving away the Infinix Hot 2 Android One phone to a lucky viewer of the show. So if you'd like to be that lucky winner, then simply tell me the exact date Tech Trends first aired on Channels Television. Yes, it's that simple, because I want someone to win this phone. The lucky winner will be picked randomly from all those who get the answers correctly via randompicker.com. Whoever wins also gets an autographed copy of my book, Becoming a Blogging Professional, as a bonus gift. Only entries via Facebook and Twitter with hashtag TechTrendsGiveaway1 will be accepted, and you have to follow at TechTrends TV on Facebook and Twitter to qualify. Giveaway closes 72 hours from now, and the lucky winner will be announced on the next edition of the show. Note, if the winner is based outside Lagos, then he or she has to make arrangements to pick up the gift in good time, I must say, because after a few weeks of not picking it up, I'll have no choice but to offer it again to others. But if you are within Lagos, then all you need to do is visit the Channels TV headquarters here in Lagos at the appointed time and pick up your gift along with a valid ID. So don't just follow at Tech Trends TV, share and retweet our posts, because we'll randomly reward our most active followers every now and then. Long and short is that every week someone will be lucky enough to win a cool gift. This is certainly another solid reason you should add watching Tech Trends to your to-do list going forward. Do send us an email, techtrends@channelstv.com, if you need any clarifications. Today's edition of the show. Remember, you can watch this and previous editions on the Channels TV YouTube page or via my blog. My name is Chukwuemeka Agbata. And remember, innovation makes all the difference.